what determines who is a responder and who is a non-responder? These are important questions to ask and answer because sometimes in nutrition science, lumping together diverse groups of people can lead us to lose sight of the biological truth through the haze of biological heterogeneity. We are all so different, and lumping us together can confuse topics. We will return to this idea of responder versus non-responder momentarily, after we discuss the results of some controlled trials and mechanisms by which vitamin C may be cardioprotective, even beyond Lp(a). So, with respect to the controlled trials, there have been several successful controlled trials showing benefits of vitamin C supplementation on heart health. For example, in one double-blinded randomized controlled trial on 46 patients with coronary artery disease, one group was given a single dose of 2 grams of vitamin C and then longer-term treatment with 500 milligrams of vitamin C, and this was compared to a placebo control. The outcome they were looking at in this study was something called flow-mediated dilation, which just refers to the widening of an artery in response to an increase in blood flow. This flow-mediated dilation test is a non-invasive test to assess the function of the lining of blood vessels and overall blood vessel health. And what they found in this controlled trial is both the single dose and long-term treatment with vitamin C improved blood vessel function. The positive effect was also generalized to both men and women, and those taking cholesterol-lowering medications and not. So it was pretty generalizable. As another example, in a different randomized trial, in patients undergoing a blood filtering procedure called hemodialysis, the patients were randomized to receive either a placebo or one of 2 doses of vitamin C, either 300 milligrams or 600 milligrams given intravenously directly into the blood 3 times per week for 3 months. Now, because of the nature of these patients, they had all undergone a procedure called angioplasty that widens their blood vessels. And a major concern after this procedure is that the blood vessels will clot up again. This is called restenosis. So, simplifying and setting aside the medical jargon, the desired outcome and hypothesis was that vitamin C would slow the rate at which blood vessels narrow and clog up. And indeed, they found that higher dose vitamin C significantly slowed restenosis by half, keeping the blood vessels open wider and for longer. And in yet another 6-year study that measured atherosclerosis progression by carotid intima media thickness, ultrasound of the carotids, supplementation with vitamin C and vitamin E slowed progression of atherosclerosis by 26%. So the big picture point is, in both the epidemiological literature and controlled trial literature, there are signs that vitamin C slows the progression of cardiovascular disease. Now, let's return to mechanisms. In Chapter 3, vitamin C and oxidized LDL. In addition to potentially reducing or diffusing, I'll explain what that means in a minute, Lp(a), vitamin C acts as an antioxidant and can therefore reduce oxidative damage to the blood vessel lining, proteins, and fragile fats. And this includes reducing oxidized LDL levels. In one controlled trial, supplementation with 500 milligrams per day of vitamin C lowered oxidized LDL from 87 to 71 units per liter, representing an 18% reduction, which occurred with no significant changes in overall cholesterol levels. It just lowered the oxidized LDL. Additionally, vitamin C can act downstream to protect smooth muscle cells in blood vessels from the harmful effects of oxidized LDL. Now, a key feature of atherosclerotic plaques are dead necrotic cores, including the death of smooth muscle cells in the lining of the blood vessel wall. And one study found that vitamin C defended against the death of these smooth muscle cells when exposed to oxidized LDL. This provides another potential protective benefit of vitamin C against atherosclerosis. But moving on, Chapter 4, vitamin C and nitric oxide. Recall earlier, just a moment ago, we reviewed a trial where vitamin C improved blood vessel function. Now, if you're curious, and I know you are, then perhaps you were scratching your chin and asking yourself, but how? Well, a key signaling molecule in blood vessels is called nitric oxide. It's a gaseous hormone that helps blood vessels flex and expand, promoting proper blood flow and nutrient delivery. And nitric oxide is synthesized by nitric oxide synthase (NOS) enzymes. And these NOS enzymes require cofactors, which are basically molecular assistants. And one key cofactor is called, ready for it? Tetrahydrobiopterin. Try saying that 5 times fast. Or BH4 for short. Now here's the punchline. Data show that vitamin C can stabilize this BH4 cofactor. This means improving the function of the NOS enzymes and increasing nitric oxide production. This in turn supports proper blood vessel function as reflected in the human trial data we reviewed earlier. Pretty cool, right? But now let's do a mechanistic summary. Let's take a step back and piece the puzzle together. Vitamin C can diffuse the Lp(a) bomb, more on that coming up soon, limit oxidative damage to vessels and lipoproteins, reduce oxidized LDL, and promote better blood flow by enhancing nitric oxide synthesis. And through these 3 mechanisms, and possibly more, vitamin C can help support your heart health. Laying it out this way also helps us understand why the human data might look so mixed, and some people might benefit more from vitamin C than others. For example, those with genetically high Lp(a), like me, could potentially benefit a lot more from mechanism 1, diffusing Lp(a), whereas those with more overall oxidative stress and lower antioxidant capacity might benefit more from mechanism 2. And those with higher blood pressure and worse blood vessel function might benefit more from mechanism 3. So you can see how different people might respond differently based on their predisposing risk factors. Makes sense, right? Okay, chapter 6, dosing. The recommended daily allowance for vitamin C is 90 milligrams for men and 75 milligrams for women. This is not designed to be a target for optimal levels. This is actually often true of recommended daily allowances for nutrient targets. For example, the RDA for protein is 0.36 grams per pound of body weight, which is the equivalent of a single large chicken breast for a fully grown adult male. And the RDA for vitamin D is only 600 international units, which is far lower than recommended by most informed practitioners. So as a general guideline, the RDA does not equal optimal levels. But that doesn't answer the question of how much vitamin C you should consume. Now, there's no easy answer, but based on available data, balanced with consideration of what I think is tolerable for most people, I would suggest anything between 250 milligrams and 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams per day. And take that range with a grain of salt. It's not a precise science. But now I know many of you will want to know about the vitamin C rankings of different fruits and vegetables. So here's your first gift. It's a table of the 15 common fruits and vegetables ranked by their vitamin C content per 100 grams, and also highlighted in terms of their vitamin C to net carbohydrate ratio. Personally, I think the ratio is valuable since it suggests how you can get the most vitamin C bang for your sugar buck. So you can pause the video here and just screenshot this table, my gift to you. Now, moving on, 7. This is where things get, I think, extra fun and dorky. Vitamin C and lysine, the Batman and Robin nutrients for heart health. With all that behind us, I want to bring you to medical school now. Specifically, I want to talk to you about a clotting process called fibrinolysis, which is one of those pathways every doctor learns about in medical school, but most forget. Fibrinolysis refers to the breaking down of blood clots. Fibrinolysis is a normal body process that prevents blood clots that occur naturally from growing too large and causing problems like clogging up your arteries and causing heart attacks. Now, for fibrinolysis, the breaking down of blood clots to occur, an enzyme called plasminogen needs to be converted into its active form, called plasmin. And the plasmin then chops up the fibers, the fibrin, that hold the clot together. And this allows the clot to break down. Now, the apolipoprotein a tail of Lp(a) is basically a modified copy of plasminogen, but one that is deactivated for lack of a better term. So Lp(a) competes with plasminogen, and in so doing, it effectively boxes out the enzyme that should break down clots. And this is in part how Lp(a) makes the blood more clotty. Now, here's the interesting thing. How does Lp(a)'s tail actually bind to clots? It does so with something called lysine binding sites. Lysine is an amino acid, a building block of proteins, and it's the handhold for Lp(a)'s tail. So to summarize, before I give you the punchline as related to vitamin C, Lp(a) binds to clots using lysine binding sites. It thereby competes with the normal clot breakdown machinery, allowing the clot to grow. And as an aside, and to reinforce the critical importance of these lysine binding sites, I want to highlight that experiments were conducted where mice were given the gene to produce Lp(a). Remember, mice don't usually produce Lp(a). However, when this was done, mice were given one of two different copies of the gene. One had intact lysine binding sites, and the other one had their lysine binding sites modified to decrease the lysine binding activity by 80%. So those mice that produced Lp(a) with intact lysine binding sites, they showed a 5-fold increase in atherosclerosis, progression of plaque, versus those with the Lp(a) that only had 1/5 the lysine binding activity. Pretty cool, right? Basically, Lp(a) without lysine binding sites is like a rock climber without hands. Now, I'm going to explain to you how vitamin C is Batman, lysine is Robin, and Lp(a) is the Joker trying to clog Gotham's arteries. First, vitamin C activates an enzyme, lysyl hydroxylase, which converts lysine to hydroxylysine. And this process is essential for the formation of strong, stable collagen fibers that can decrease the molecular handholds for Lp(a). Have the rock climber take away his hands. Basically, vitamin C can help make Lp(a) less sticky, even if it doesn't decrease Lp(a) levels. Additionally, lysine supplementation, which is safe up to 6 grams per day, can increase circulating lysine levels that bind to the lysine binding sites on Lp(a), effectively creating molecular decoys that can also help make Lp(a) less sticky. So in this way, we can envision a simple nutritional protocol consisting of routine vitamin C and lysine supplementation that collectively could decrease the harm of Lp(a), either by decreasing its levels or, far more likely, by just making it less sticky and less atherogenic. And that brings us to chapter 8. I want to reward those of you who stuck with me, get it, to this point with a protocol to help combat your Lp(a). It was important to me not to just hand this to you up front, but I really wanted to walk you through the science so you truly understand the why behind this cheap and simple method. I propose, quite simply, dosing vitamin C 1,000 milligrams per day, 1 gram per day, taken in 2 separate 500 milligram doses. Also, 2 grams of lysine per day. The logic here is that this combination may help diffuse your Lp(a), at least to some degree. As we've reviewed, this protocol should make Lp(a) less sticky, while also helping to reduce your oxidized LDL and potentially improve nitric oxide production and blood vessel function. But now, how do you know I'm not just a clever trickster? How do you know this is actually helping? Well, aside from the fact that I've not yet been bought out by Big Orange Juice and have no motivation to mislead you, you can get tests if you'd like to monitor how this protocol affects you. Here are some tests I suggest that could be the most informative. First, get your Lp(a). You should know your baseline levels. Getting before and after Lp(a) measurements could be interesting. Although, to be perfectly candid, I wouldn't expect to see major changes. While the animal model data suggests vitamin C supplementation can lower Lp(a) and people have